Attention! Unidentified passenger on board. I'd taken the train from Delaware to DC many times before. 7:53 p.m. out of Wilmington, arriving at 9:36. The tickets were cheap, and the train was mostly empty around that time. It was perfect. Tonight was no different. I sat in the window seat as usual, reading as the train rocked gently back and forth. About 20 minutes into the ride, however, the intercom came on overhead. I looked up. I glanced around the car. There was only the middle-aged woman I saw when I got on, several rows back. She was licking up, confused. The voice overhead was different, too. It wasn't the usual garbled man's voice. It was a woman's, monotone and robotic. My stomach dropped. Wouldn't they say something more extreme, though? Like, hide? This almost sounded like they were announcing someone hadn't paid for their ticket. I glanced to the front of the car, where the LED marquee was. Instead of listing the next station stop, it said, "Unidentified passenger, unidentified passenger, unidentified passenger." The letters scrolled past, over and over, jittering orange pixels. Maybe they mean someone a Russian spy? Or something? Or maybe it was just some sort of glitch. I stared at the orange letters. Unidentified passenger. I texted my boyfriend. The train saying there's an unidentified passenger on board? Really weird. It's gotta be fake, right? He replied instantly. That's really weird. Maybe get off. I pulled up maps and checked our location. We were just a few minutes from Aberdeen. After hesitating for a second, I grabbed my bag. I turned to the aisle. A woman was standing right in front of me. The middle-aged woman from the back of the car. I jumped, banging my head on the overhead luggage rack. She asked. I shook my head. This has got to be a joke or something, right? I don't know. I slipped past her into the aisle and started for the vestibule between the cars. Good idea, she said. She hurried back to her seat and started grabbing her things. I pressed the button for the door and stepped into the vestibule. The metal floor shook underneath me. The landscape outside the train was pure black, except for a single small light twinkling in the distance. The door behind me opened and the woman stepped in, clutching her bag close to her chest like a shield. "I'm supposed to be at my daughter's wedding tomorrow morning," she muttered, messing with her ashy blonde hair. "We just got back on good terms. If I'm even a minute late." I glanced at the window into the next car. It was empty, except for a single man near the front. I could just see the top of his head poking over the seat. He wasn't packing his stuff, or even moving. Maybe we're overreacting, I thought for a second. This is how people get hurt. Not changing their plans when the alarm bells start going. As soon as something is off, you get out. Period. My mom had taught me that a long time ago. The train wobbled and shook. Lights grew in the distance, twinkling through the darkness. We were approaching. I stepped closer to the door, staring out the little square window. The lights grew larger. The concrete platform rolled into sight. The squat brick building, the dark windows, silver sign, Aberdeen Station. We blew right past it. I stared out the window. I nodded. Before I could say anything else, the intercom clicked to life. "Attention passengers, please remain in your original train car for the duration of the ride." The woman's voice again, monotonous, slow. The woman whispered. I glanced through the window into the next car. The man was still sitting there, completely still. No, wait, not still. As the train took a curve, his head bobbed and lolled on his shoulders, limply. As if he were, I ran back to the door of our train car, slammed the button. The door shuddered open, and we slipped inside. That guy? There was something seriously. I could barely choke out the words. I know. Do you think he was? She couldn't bring herself to say it. I glanced back at the door into the vestibule. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. The woman and I began talking at once. "On a train. Someone's dead. It won't stop. Just past Aberdeen." The operator said she'd get someone out to us. But deep down, I knew. What could they possibly do? If whoever was driving the train wouldn't stop, how could the police intervene? Set up a blockade? Possibly kill us in the crash? I stared out the window. Golden lights flew by, clusters of suburbs, disappearing back into the darkness. I swallowed. "I don't think so at this speed," she replied. Silence pressed in on us. We should hide in the bathroom," she said. "It has a lock. It'll keep us safe." "It says stay in the car," I said, pointing to the marquee. "But bathroom doors are flimsy anyway," I said. I closed my eyes, running my hands down my face. Could we just be freaking out over nothing? Maybe that guy. Maybe he was just sleeping. Maybe they passed the stop for some other reason. Maybe it really is just some glitch. The lights overhead flickered, and then went out. I whimpered. The train car was only lit by the orange glow of the marquee at the front of the car. It was still flashing the same message. "Stay in your seats! Stay in your seats! Stay in your seats!" "This is insane," the woman whispered. I texted my boyfriend. "The lights just went out. We called 911. I don't know how they're gonna get us off the train." I hit send and closed my eyes. "Wait, the lights being out, maybe that helps us," the woman said. "We can hide better." She crouched down. "I don't think we can fit under the seats. There are benches at the back." I slowly felt my way through the darkness of the car, pressing my hands into the cloth seatbacks on either side. We reached the last aisle, where the seat configuration had been altered to have benches facing each other, with a space in the middle. I squeezed down into the space between the seats, then shuffled under the first bench. The woman did the same, squeezing under the second. I felt too hot. The rug scratched my arms. The middle of the seat pressed against my head. I twisted my legs and pushed myself back so that my head wasn't poking out into the aisle. We were decently well hidden, but if the guy or whoever it was found us, there was no way we could escape. We were trapped. We lay there underneath the seats for what felt like an eternity. The car rocked and swayed underneath us. My hair fell into my face. My legs ached. I knew Harry was probably texting me back, but I'd silenced my phone and it was deep in my pocket. I couldn't contort to get it out. Not that I'd want to. What if they came by while I was looking at my phone and found us because of the light? I was jolted back to reality by the shuddering sound of the door opening. I strained to listen. Soft thumping footsteps sounded on the far end of the car, slow and methodical, quiet, like they were stalking their prey. The footsteps grew louder. I held my breath. A black leather men's shoe stepped into view. It glistened in the orange light, almost as if it were wet. My lungs burned. "Please don't look. Please. Go, go, go." They hesitated, shoes frozen on the carpet, inches from my face. Then they finally took another step, and another. The door behind us shuddered open, and then closed. I let out my breath out in short, silent little bursts, then sucked in another breath as slowly as possible. They passed us. We're okay. I turned my head to look at the woman. Tears were rolling down her face as she stared back at me. "It's okay. He didn't see us," I whispered. Her mouth hung open. Her lips trembled. "It's okay," I whispered again, but she didn't even blink. That's when I realized she wasn't staring at me. She was staring past me. I turned around. My blood ran cold. There was something at the door, pressing its face against the window, fogging up the glass. That was just another passenger, trying to stay quiet, trying to hide. Maybe even the guy we thought was dead. It was that thing in the window, eyes pitch black, skin ghastly white, barely lit in the flickering orange of the marquee, which now read, "Don't run, don't run, don't run." That was the unidentified passenger. The woman crawled out from under her seat. I whispered, but she was already slamming her hand on the door open button. It slowly shuddered open, and she began to slip through it. The door opened on the other end. Rapid footsteps. Out of sync, frantic, running. I saw a flash of bare feet and bare hands thumping against the carpet. In seconds it had run past me into the next car. Before the door even had a chance to close, I heard a muffled scream. And then, silence. I bit my lip, trying to stop from crying. I knew she was dead. There was no way she could have gotten away. I closed my eyes tight, trying to push it all down. "Stay quiet," it went past. The door opened. White bare hands on the carpet, slick with something dark, followed by bare feet. She jerkily moved forward in a spider crawl until she was at my seat. I held my breath, as its pale ankles buckled underneath the hem of its white skirt. As it began to crouch, long dark hair came into view, skimming down to the floor. More and more hair, as it tilted its head down to look at me. It stopped just short of showing its face. I could see its hairline, its forehead, as it hung its head upside down, inches from my face. It stopped there, frozen, waiting. I could see its entire body shift as it breathed. I could hear the high-pitched rasp of its breath. A single drop of blood dripped onto its pale hand, but it didn't show its face. My lungs felt like they were about to burst, but I forced myself not to breathe, not to move. I stared at the hair and the blood on its hands, and the dirty white dress skimming its ankles. With a creaking sound, it got up. The door slid open, and it disappeared. I took in desperate gasps of air. My lungs burned. Hot tears rolled down my face. I couldn't feel my legs or my feet. Don't run, don't run, don't run. That's what the Marquis had said. I would stay here forever. In the darkness, even if every nerve of my body felt like it was on fire. I don't know how long I was there, crouched under the seat, trying to breathe as quietly as possible. Pins and needles crawling up my legs, my head pounding, my arms numb. But then the train slowed, the lights flickered back on, and the intercom crackled to life. I didn't crawl out from under the seat until the train jerked to a stop, my entire body stiff, blazing with pain. I pulled myself out from under the seat, hobbled off the train and onto the platform. I felt like I couldn't even walk. The bright lights dazed me, footsteps clicked, voices murmured, suitcases rolled across the concrete. A speaker somewhere overhead announced a leaving train. When I turned back, though, I realized no one else had exited my particular train. Just me. And I didn't notice the hair until I made it into the station. A long black hair entwined around my wrist. And my skin underneath it, blistered and red, everywhere the hair had touched.